French neo-colonialism just took a major win in Africa. This week, two African nations with deep ties to France's neo-colonial agenda used questionable tactics to keep puppet leaders in power. It's a devastating setback for African sovereignty that could lock the continent into another decade of French influence it just doesn't need. In this video, we're going to break down what just happened, who's behind it, and why this story might have a silver lining. If you care about Africa's future, this is the knowledge you need to recognize when our nations are being captured by Western powers. If you don't know me, my name is TJ, I'm African and British mixed, and on this channel, we talk about African geopolitics. So in Cameroon, Paul Biya, aged 92, has once again been declared winner of the 2025 presidential election. That makes this his 8th term since taking power in 1982. That means he's been in power longer than I've been alive. This election was riddled with accusations of fraud, intimidation, and manipulation. Protesters poured into the streets of Douala and Yaoundé, insisting that opposition candidate Issa Chiroma had actually won. Security forces responded with, guess what, live ammunition, and several people were killed. International observers called the process irregular, and the scenes that followed looked more like a dictatorship clinging to life than a democracy renewing its vibrant mandate. At 92, and with clear signs of mental deterioration, Paul Biya these days is barely seen in public. His long absence and visible decline has fueled widespread speculation that Cameroon is being run by a shadow government or a clique of elites surrounding him.
C'est qui tous ces gens qui sont là? Pourquoi je n'ai pas demandé ça? Est-ce qu'il y a des gens importants là?
Les ministres vous a Kagame a parlé, il est parti, introduit.
Non.
Le monsieur vous a introduit. Il y avait un monsieur de vous qui vous a introduit.
Je dois parler maintenant.
Vous restez assis, parlez assis. Vous pouvez parler assis, étant assis.
Ici?
Oui.
Pourquoi?
His own daughter, Brenda Biya, went public during his latest campaign, urging citizens not to vote for her father. When the president's own family is rebelling, it raises a disturbing question: who is really running Cameroon? Because it clearly isn't the person we think it is. Many of you have dropped comments asking how you can support this channel, even offering to donate or help financially. Until recently, I had no way to make this possible. But now through my Substack, it's never been easier for you to lend me some support. There's a free tier where you'll get 1 email per week, and for just $5 a month, about the price of a nice coffee, you'll receive a daily written update from all of my content, everything I produce. I'll be engaging with those of you who join, asking your thoughts on how to serve you and the continent better. Sometimes my videos do get demonetized, and there's also a small chance, as we saw with the platform Africa stream, that a channel like this could be deplatformed. Even if the worst happens, we can regroup, rebuild, and keep pushing forward. We don't want any third party controlling this message, so with email backing us up, we can communicate directly. Thank you in advance for signing up. I look forward to connecting with you, not just on YouTube, but via email as well. And unfortunately this week, a second situation has arisen in Ivory Coast. Alassane Ouattara, aged 83, has secured yet another term after neutralizing nearly all of his credible opponents in the process. Former President Gbagbo and political heavyweight Tajin Tahim were both barred from running. Opposition protests and campaigns were met with arrests and violence, and in October alone, 237 protests were detained. Ouattara has used constitutional loopholes to extend his time and power indefinitely, presenting himself to the West as the guardian of stability. But what France calls stability, Ivorians are increasingly calling control. Both Biya and Ouattara represent an older generation of leaders deeply intertwined with France's economic and political networks. From the CFA franc that still ties African economies to the French treasury, to the French corporations that dominate sectors like energy and mining, Paris is intertwined into the country through a systemic vice-like grip. French companies dominate major industries across these nations. In Cameroon, French-owned firms operate in energy, infrastructure, and banking, while in Ivory Coast, French businesses control large sectors including cocoa, construction, and telecommunications. France's economy is deeply tied to what it extracts from Africa, and these two nations serve as vital cash cows for that system. For Paris, these election outcomes guaranteed continued access to resources, contracts, and influence. A leadership challenge aligned with sovereignty movements like that of the AES alliance could threaten this arrangement, so France has every incentive to quietly maintain status quo. These leaders simply ensure the continuity of that control. While France celebrates its continued influence, the consequences for Africa are unfortunately dire. The entrenchment of these leaders undermines democratic legitimacy and blocks political renewal for a continent where 60% of the population is under 30 years of age. Youth across Africa are watching, frustrated, ready for change. And that's the real danger to the French and these regimes. Because when people lose faith in that ballot box, they look elsewhere for solutions. Across Asia and now into parts of Africa, we've seen Gen Z-led uprisings against corruption, stagnation, and authoritarianism. It's not unthinkable that the same energy could erupt in Cameroon or Ivory Coast. If economic conditions worsen, if repression continues, and if hope continues to fade, it could trigger something far bigger than street protests. It could spark a revolution or even a military coup. And in Cameroon's case, with Biya's failing health, there's a real possibility he won't survive the length of his new term. That could plunge the nation into a dangerous succession crisis and open the door for unpredictable change. So yes, this week might feel like a victory for France, and it is a triumph for the neo-colonial status quo. But there is a real chance that these victories will be short-lived. The same forces that kept these men in power are also the ones building the resentment that will one day remove them. We've seen these regimes crumble before, and momentum across the continent is growing. Africa's youth are learning, organizing, and refusing to accept the same lies their parents were told. That's the silver lining here. Unfortunately for now, the people of Cameroon and Ivory Coast will have to wait for change to come. Africa's liberation is being stifled and halted, at least for now. France may have won this battle, but it is losing the war of influence in Africa rapidly. The more it props up outdated leaders, the more it exposes itself as the obstacle for Africa's progress. The youth of Cameroon and Ivory Coast deserve our solidarity, our attention, and our voices. We must keep these conversations alive, because silence is what allows neo-colonialism to thrive on the continent. I would love to know what you guys think about this out there. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. But if you have nothing to say, would it be too much if I asked you to write the words "people over power" in the comment section? It just lets me know that you watched the video to the end, you like what I'm doing, you support the channel, and you want me to keep going. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.